3:07 a.m. The house was silent. The baby monitor was flashing green. I was exhausted and falling asleep. Then, I suddenly heard a sound, something I had never heard before. Zeus was screaming, but it wasn't a normal scream. It was a Yuya scream. I jumped out of bed and ran to Eli's room. What I saw made my chest tighten. My 4-month-old son was turning blue. He wasn't breathing. But before I get to that moment, I have to tell you from the beginning. November 2022. I had 4-month-old Eli in my arms. My husband Marcus was busy at work, the stress of the family, and I couldn't sleep at night. In this situation, I went to the local rescue shelter one day. I don't know why I went. Maybe it was loneliness. Maybe I felt like I needed another life at home. I went there and stood in front of a cage. Inside was a huge dog, 130 pounds, cane corso, black, stone-like body, eyes deep, calm. He stared at me. No fear, no attack, just a long, steady gaze. The shelter had his name written on the paper, and below it in red ink, not suitable for homes with children. Previous owner surrendered due to uncontrollable behavior. I brought Zeus home that same day. That evening, Marcus came home. As soon as I opened the door, Zeus stood in front of him. Marcus didn't say a word. He went straight to the bedroom, packed his bags, and on his way out, stood by the door and said, "Either this dog stays in this house or I stay. You choose." I didn't say anything. He left. I looked at Zeus then. He was sitting on the floor, looking at me, quiet, calm, as if he understood what had happened. The next morning, the neighbors started coming. The neighbor, Mrs. Carla, knocked on the door and said to get Zeus out or she would call the police. The couple next door wrote, "We have children. That animal is a danger to this neighborhood." Some said outright, "Are you crazy? You're letting this monster in with the newborn baby?" I was alone. Eli on my lap, Zeus by my side, and pressure from all sides. I made a rule. I called it the no approach rule. Zeus would never come within 6 feet of Eli. I thought Zeus wouldn't follow this rule, but from day one, he seemed to understand. He would always sit outside Eli's door for hours. He wouldn't move. He wouldn't get up when I called him for food. He would just sit and watch. At first, I thought he was watching for prey. Now I understand he was guarding. 2 weeks passed. One day, Eli smiled for the first time, a small, innocent smile. Zeus saw it. Then he slowly lowered his huge head to the floor and wagged his tail. I will never forget that moment because that was the first time I felt something other than fear, trust. Weeks passed, months passed. Marcus would call occasionally. He would say he wanted to come back, but he would make a condition. Zeus had to be taken to the shelter. I said no every time. He hung up every time. My mother said, "Girl, are you leaving your husband and keeping a dog? Are you okay?" My friends said I was depressed. I couldn't think straight. But every night, when I would put Eli to bed alone and close the door, Zeus would lie down right outside that door. I would wake up in the morning and see that he had been there all night. That scene told me every day, you are not alone. Then that night came. Late September, 3:07 a.m. I was in a deep sleep. Suddenly, that sound in Zeus's voice, something I had never heard before, a high, sharp, pain-like cry. As I opened my eyes, I heard him pounding on the door, loudly, over and over. I jumped up and ran to Eli's room. Eli was turning blue, lips, fingers, everything blue. Chest not rising, not breathing. I picked him up and screamed and called 911. Zeus was standing at my feet, trembling and shaking. He knew something had happened before I did. I started CPR, which I had learned in a class, when the ambulance arrived. After 4 minutes, Eli was breathing again. Those 4 minutes were the longest 4 minutes of my life. At the hospital, the doctor said, SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome. Sometimes babies stop breathing in their sleep for no reason. The doctor said, "You got there on time. If you were 3-4 minutes late, we wouldn't have been able to do anything." I didn't say anything. I just looked out the window. My car was parked in the parking lot, and Zeus was sitting next to the car, on the street, alone, waiting for me to return. The next morning, Marcus came. He stood by Eli's bed and cried. Then he took my hand and said, I was wrong. He came home that day, and as soon as he entered the house, he went straight to Zeus. He knelt down, he held Zeus's huge head in both hands, and Marcus, a grown man, buried his face in the dog's head and cried. The neighborhood Mrs. Carla came. She had a big packet of treats in her hand. She stood at the door and said, I heard what happened. I came to apologize. She patted Zeus's head. Zeus nuzzled her hand. No anger, no complaints. The shelter, which had labeled him not suitable, posted Zeus's story on their website. That month, 17 dogs found new homes at the shelter. People realized a monster label meant true identity.